because they are disconnected to each other. Loneliness is not about being alone. It's about being disconnected. Even married couples can be lonely when they disconnect from each other, when they live separate lives, not when they do separate things, not even when they're living in separate places, but when their hearts are disconnected from each other, when their souls are disconnected from each other. That's when they can be lonely. That's when loneliness sets in. Even a successful, well-liked, incredibly social human being can be lonely because that's only the material side. He feels connected. He's got a great job. He's got friends. He's got people. But that's just his material, physical side. The spiritual side, that sense of purpose, that sense of connection, that sense of deep soul connections, that's missing, that remains disconnected and alone. And that's the ultimate loneliness, when a person is disconnected from themselves, when a person's physical and spiritual side are not connected to each other. That's the ultimate in loneliness. Our first step is to connect to ourselves. Hillel would walk into the ceremony on Sukkot in the temple, and he would say, Imani kana kol kan. If I am here, then everybody's here. If I can be integrated, walk in with a whole sense of myself, a sense of purpose, a sense of being, if I can walk in with a sense of pride and joy of who I am, if I walk in with a sense of my own importance and value, so then akol kan, everybody can do this, and we can make the group, we can make a kal, we can make a community, we can make a Jewish people. But I first have to connect to myself, and then I can connect to others. When we feel strong in ourselves, like Adam, who was born Yechidi, created alone. Why was Adam created alone? That Adam would realize, Bishvili nivra ha'olam, the world was created for me. The whole world is on my shoulders. The reason why God created the world was He created it for me. And therefore my obligation is to this world. I have an achrayus to this world. I have a responsibility to this world. It gives me a sense of self. When we can stand alone and proud like Avraham Avinu, when we can stand alone and proud like an Am Levadad Yishkon, like a nation that stands alone, when Vayivasar Yaakov Levado, when like Yaakov, we can stand alone, we can be independent, we can be sure, we can be driven, we can be focused, we can be satisfied and fulfilled, then we as a whole unit can become connected to God. Then Niskav Hashem Levado. And then we can connect each one to another. And we can banish our loneliness. Our uniqueness, God's uniqueness, the uniqueness of every individual blends into one. And when I'm whole inside, then I'm not lonely, because I stand for something. I live for something. I mean something. Once I connect to myself, I can connect to others and stay connected to them, even in their absence. Because real connections have less to do with groups than they do with souls. You ever meet that buddy from high school? Or that gal you went to college with? Who you haven't seen for 30 years? And you start to talk to them, and it's as if you've never separated? That's a soul connection. That's a connection on a soul level to our soul, which is a real connection. Those connections, we could be physically distant, but we're spiritually connected, and therefore we're not lonely. we don't feel alone. I may be physically alone, but I'm not lonely because I feel connected to me, I feel connected to God, and I feel connected on a deep level to those that mean something to me, to those who I've connected to. But how does that translate this year? Because look, let's be honest. I'm looking at this screen and my heart is breaking. I'm seeing people that are going to be sitting alone. Single individuals, couples. As I've mentioned in many of my other shurim, we're used to having masses at their sedarim. Going to be 2, 3. How do we take this idea and translate it into something real? So if we take a look at the laws of chametz and matzah, by the Rambam. The Rambam talks about the Seder, talks about all the things that have to be done. The Seder, the way we have to teach our children, and that we have to be misaper, we have to tell over the story of the Exodus of Egypt. And then the Rambam, when he's talking about the Seder, he says that a man has to get his children to ask. If his son doesn't ask, it says how he has to stimulate him, he has to get him to ask questions. And then Ein Lo Ben, what happens if he doesn't have a son? Ishtoi she'altoi. So he gets his wife to ask the questions. Ein Lo Isha. What about if he doesn't have a wife? Then she'elin zeh zeh. Then he asks the other people around him, Manishtan alayla zeh. Even if it was a bunch of rabbis, single rabbis sitting at a table, which, oh my God, what that must be like. But a bunch of single rabbis sitting around the table. They still have to ask each other the questions. But what about Hoya Levado? Zok the Rambam, what happens if he is alone? Shoel la'atzmai. Manishtan alelazeh. He asks himself, why is tonight different than all other nights? It's a little weird though. Because if you're only alone, if you're just yourself, then why do you still have to teach? Why do you have to ask questions and answers? Why are you keeping that structure? Why doesn't the Rambam just say, and if you're alone, then make sure you read the Haggadah. Make sure you think a little bit. Make sure you enjoy yourself. Why does it have to be that make sure you teach? Make sure you ask the questions. So we take a look at the Rambam in the laws of Talmud Torah. And the Rambam says, Noshim avodim uktanim, that women and children and slaves are pater from the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. But a katan, a child, his father is obligated to teach him Torah. Then the Rambam goes on to say that a person is obligated to teach his son, he's obligated to teach his grandson, he's obligated to teach other people's children. And then the Rambam says in Halacha Daled, if a man has a desire to learn Torah, but he has an obligation to teach Torah to his child, and he only has enough money to teach one of them, so who kodem lebno? He comes before his son. Then the Rambam says, Vim hoya bino novonu maskil lohavim mashe yilmod yosem imenu. So then bino kodem. If the son is particularly genius, then the son will come before the father. The afal pisha bino kodem lo. Even though the son might have an obligation to spend his money on the son more than on himself, lo yivatel hu, he shouldn't be mevatel himself. Listen to these words of the Rambam. Because shekishem shemitzvah alav lilmod, in the same way that it's a mitzvah on himself to learn, as l'lamed is beno to teach his son, kachu mitzvah l'lamed atzmo. It's a mitzvah for him to teach himself. Why doesn't it say it's a mitzvah on him to learn? It's a mitzvah on him to study. Why are you saying that it's a mitzvah to teach himself? Why is teaching being used here? So I saw the most beautiful thing from Reb Nata Schiller, that he said, because we know that our Masorah is based on teaching truth. We're the link in the chain. We have one hand stretched to the past, and we have our other hand stretched to the future. And we stand as the conduit in the middle, which connects the two. But it only connects the two if what I'm passing from the past to the future is emes, is truth. First, I have to make it my truth. I have to teach it to myself. I have to teach myself the truth. In the same way that I would teach it to my child, in the same way that I would teach it to my grandchild, in the same way that I would teach it to my student, I need to strengthen that truth and to teach it to myself. Vishinantam livanecha, it says in the Torah, that when you want to teach it to your children, it doesn't say teach it to your children, it says vishinamtam, make it sharp in your mouth, and then livanecha, give it over to your children. It's got to be strong to you, and then you can give it over. When they're in front of me, I can pass it on to them. And when they aren't in front of me, when my children aren't sitting there, Haya levado, says the Rambam, when you're alone, shoa la'atzmai manishtano. Reteach it to yourself. Re-strengthen your fundamentals. Reaffirm who you are and what you stand for. Reaffirm the link in the chain that you are between the past and the future. Use the opportunity to strengthen my connection to myself, to my Torah, to my God. To teach myself, thereby strengthening myself as a teacher. So that next year, when, please God, they're all sitting around my table again, we'll be rejoined and no longer alone. I won't feel lonely this year because I'm connecting to myself. I'm connecting to my people. I'm reaffirming my connection to my past and my connection to my future. And I'm making myself a better teacher to be able to continue to connect to my family, to my friends, and to my children. And I use this year to strengthen myself. And even though I am physically alone, I'm not lonely because I'm totally connected. Our rabbis tell us that any year where Klal Yisrael doesn't blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, that year is going to be a lacking year. And we know this. We know that if we don't hear the sounds of the shofar in the beginning of the year, then the end of the year, we're going to hear other sounds. We're going to hear the sounds of pain and suffering. Yet, in years when Shabbos is the first day of Rosh Hashanah, we don't blow the shofar. And the Torah says blow the shofar on Shabbos. But the rabbis came along and said, don't blow the shofar, Shemi Avirenu Dal Ramas B'Rishus Harabim, lest you carry it 4 cubits in a public domain, and I can't take that chance that you're going to desecrate Shabbos. And therefore, if that's the case, do not carry that shofar. And do not blow that shofar. Which is crazy because we're creating a year which won't have shofar at its beginning just because we're worried. Just because we're worried that maybe someone's going to carry the shofar, so make a rule, you can't carry the shofar. But why are we saying don't blow the shofar? So the Meshech Chochmah and others say because not blowing the shofar is an act of the Jew being mechabed Shabbos, showing his incredible honor to the Sabbath. And that's louder than the sound of the shofar. That devotion to Shabbos, that devotion to God, that devotion to what's right and what's true, that makes a greater sound than a shofar sound. This year, sitting alone at our Siddharim, for many of us without our kids and without our grandkids, without our friends, our Yedidei Nefesh, the people we've come to love and to connect to on a soul level. And we've sacrificed. We've told them, stay home. You can't come to us this year. We tell our beloved guests, no, I'm sorry. I invited you, but I can't have you. That's the greatest act of togetherness that we could possibly do. Because with that, we are screaming the message loud that I'm connected to you. I care about you. I don't want you to come because I don't want to give anything to you. I don't want to cause you any kind of harm. The ultimate act of connectedness is to separate our bodies, is to be alone physically, but to show our togetherness, our care, our concern, our connection, our feeling of being connected even though we're physically separated. And I might be alone, but I'm not lonely. Not told over the Rav Hutner Zatzal used to say that a Sefer Tehillim, a book of Psalms, that doesn't have tear stains is like a Haggadah without wine stains. It's missing the evidence of authentic usage. I showed everyone my Haggadah, one of the other classes, filled with wine stains. It looks authentic. I sat there for hours just pouring the wine on the pages. It looks like it's used. It looks authentic. The same with the Sefer Tehillim. When you get your bubbies, your Zetas Tehillim, you get their Psalms, and you see tear-stained pages. This year, our Haggadahs are going to be mixed with tear stains and wine stains. Tears that are shed over the loss of life, over the loss of our brothers and sisters. But those tears are mixed with the stains of wine. The wine of the Arba Lashonos, of the 4 languages of redemption, the wine that reminds me that we aren't alone. We stand for something. We stand tall and proud, and we are connected to the Melech Malchei Amlachim. We're connected to the King of Kings, and we are connected to our loved ones. We are connected to our friends. We're connected to our nation, to our people. And we celebrate this Seder with God and with every other Jew around the world whose heart and soul we're connected to. May this thought help give us the strength to reach levels of joy and renewal. May we be Zoche to Kosh Yeshuas Eso V'Shem Hashem Ekra, that the cup of salvation we will lift, and in the name of God we will call out. Together, connected as one, in our bodies and in our souls, as we stand in the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, never celebrating the Pesach alone, and never again feeling that sense of loneliness. B'mheira v'yameinu, may that day come quickly in our lives. Amen.
Amen. Shukach.
Thank you. I just want to make a few quick announcements. The first is a very, very beautiful thing takes place every day at 7:30 in the morning, Sundays at 9. We join together, it takes about a half hour. And we say Tehillim, we say Psalms. Now, Rabbi say, for those of you that read newspapers, I understand that many of the names don't mean anything to you. I will tell you that day by day by day, I see people that I know that are very, very sick, people that I know that have passed. 2 people from my high school today, on the same day, both passed away. One in my class, one a little bit older than I. It's very close to home. This is not something that we're disconnected from. When we talk about how we need to increase our tefillos, we need to increase our prayers. We need to pray for the sick. We need to pray for the neshamas of those that have passed. We need to pray for the zechusim to protect the doctors and the responders and all the people that are there. We need to daven that God give us the strength, give the mothers, the fathers, the strength to be able to raise their children in this atmosphere, to be successful at what they're doing. There's so much for us to daven for. It's a no frills davening. There's no drush in the middle, just at the end. There's no shtick. There's no English. You can bring a tehillim with English, and you can recite the English. We say it pasuk by pasuk, verse by verse. We say it slow, but it's encouraging when you look up at the screen and you see other people davening, and you feel them davening, and you're davening. The connection that it makes, you don't feel that loneliness. You don't feel that separateness, that disconnectedness. So I'd like to invite everyone. This week it's really only going to be, tomorrow is Monday, it'll also be Monday morning and Tuesday morning, and then Wednesday morning at that time will be the siyum. We're going to make a siyum on Zoom. Again, that'll be sent out in the mail, but it will make a siyum for those that are firstborns or that are firstborn sons that need to participate in a siyum. The second thing is that there will be a Zoom event, as we spoke about, the details of which are going to be sent out, but you should have in your minds, both people with children and without children, plan on being ready for Yontif an hour before Yontif. Yontif's late. Can't start the Seder until Seisa Kochavim, until the stars come out. Plan on being ready an hour before Yontif, so you can sit at your computer with your kids. There'll be a little program. It'll be a chance to sing some songs together, to share some Torah together, to be able to just celebrate the Chag together, so that we start the Yontif physically alone, but not lonely. We start the Yontif completely connected to each other. My bracha to each and every one of us is that we should see this as the opportunity that it is. The opportunity to re-strengthen ourselves, to connect the different parts of ourselves, to make ourselves whole, and in that way not lonely. And we make ourselves stronger so that when we're physically back with everyone, we can bring ourselves back to them with a strength. We have something new, something fresh to connect with them and to continue our lives together. Thank you all for coming. I'm hanging out. It's only 6:17 in the morning. I got plenty of time. I'm hanging out. If anyone wants to hang out, you can unmute yourselves. And it is so great. I can't see there's 58 participants and not including all the people that are here in doubles, all the couples. I mean, it's mamish, it's stunning, it's beautiful. What a Kiddush Hashem. I just can't see anything beyond this with the screen that's in front of me. So for all those of you that came, you can tell me you were there, and I appreciate you being here, and all of us appreciate being together to be able to begin Pesach this way. Okay, everybody should have a Chag Kosher Sameach, beautiful, happy, healthy Pesach.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank
I
you.
don't know how many people see Moy by the Kaisel. I told Moy,
Thank you, Rabbi.
but it's so not reality. Because if Moy was in Eretz Yisrael right now, it wouldn't be about a Kaisel. Unfortunately, there's a minion there every day, but it's only they're only letting 10 in at a time. That's it. And in here they're practicing.
Thank you, Rabbi.
The stuff. My pleasure. It's my pleasure. The stuff.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Hi.
No.
Happy Passover. Chag kosher v'sameach.
Anything you want to ask him?
No.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, of course, you can ask.
I might have a question.
Sure. Okay, no problem. But I was saying that here, I don't know what's going on in America, but I can tell you that there is, they're really, they're taking it very seriously. Even if you don't live in Bnei Brak, they're taking it seriously. And everywhere you go, you're outside. If you're with people, you're in a mask, gloves. They stop you by the door. They shoot you with temperature, and you can only go into the store. They only let a certain amount of people in the store, and they expect you to practice what's called, this social distancing to be good. They expect you to practice that in the store, and you see people like running away from each other. But it's good. It's very good. Look, the days have been beautiful here. The weather's been amazing. So there've been people outside. But you see when anybody sees anybody else walking, even if they know them, they skirt to go to the other side of the street. And in general, people are really behaving.
Rabbi, it's Shana. Can you hear me?
Sure.
My brother always at every Seder would make a toast just after all the prelude to the main meal. Then he would make a toast to our parents, our grandparents who we used to have the Seder with, and they aren't with us anymore in body.
Right.
And I just wonder, is there any special bracha to say at that moment about them?
It's an emotional expression, and it's a beautiful emotional expression, but it's an emotional expression, and do it however emotionally you want to do it. I saw something beautiful that a rabbi sent around, and he said that, I never did this, but some people would set an extra chair at the Seder table and leave it empty. And it would symbolize, different things depending on the period of time that we were through. And, now it's they're saying for all the, all the corona patients or all the, whatever, to set aside. I don't know. And somebody else said to set aside for all the people who would have been at your Seder and then not at the Seder. To me, that's like, I'm crying enough as it is. You sit to my Seder and just, look at an empty chair. So I'm not into that. But the degree to which you want to do something and commemorate and memorialize those things, it's a beautiful thing. It shouldn't be part of the Seder, obviously, but you do it at the end of the meal is beautiful. The beginning of the meal is beautiful, but it has no special structure to it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I'll tell you, it was a thought that I said the other night. But when you start your Seder and you're sitting there with your 3 matzahs staring you in the face, yeah, and your 4 cups of wine sitting on the table. So you got the 3 mothers and the 4 fathers are sitting the other way around. The four mothers and the 3 fathers sitting right in front of you. That is a great moment to recognize your past and to recognize all the people that got you to this place. Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, and Mami and Bubby and Zaidi, and remembering all of them. That's just a beautiful place to realize that, we are connected. We're here because of all of what they did and all of who they were and all the sacrifices that they made. It's a beautiful place to incorporate this idea.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Was that my competition? Yeah. Is that Netflix? Yeah, they say that Zoom and Netflix are going wild. I can only imagine. It will come the day when it won't only be Shtisel and what's that other one? There's another one now, another Jewish one. Not so nice. What was it called? Unorthodox. That's right. So one day on Netflix, they're going to have a special channel of rabbis' drushes.
Yes.
One day, halavai.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, Chag kosher v'sameach, everyone. A happy and a healthy Happy and healthy.
Thank you,
Any
Rabbi.
questions, obviously, you can ask, and if not, then it was really wonderful to see you all.
Rabbi, the
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
one of
Dave.
the plagues that I feel like we're living in is also the plague of darkness.
The plague of darkness. Yeah. You know what the plague of darkness really was? Yeah, I'll tell you, Dave, I don't agree with you. I'll tell you why. But I'll tell you why in a good way. Because the plague of darkness, what was the real problem with the plague of darkness? Is that it says that each man didn't see each other. The real darkness is that when we don't recognize somebody else's pain, we don't recognize somebody else's situation. I think we're living in the lightest, most illuminated time now. I think that like I was saying, when a person doesn't go to another,
The lights didn't go out. Nothing else went out on the kitchen.
it's such an illuminated. It's such.
So there's got to be something with those. For some reason, those outlets.
Why did you close the cover?
I don't know who. I don't know. It's like a computer game. I'm trying to figure out who to mute. But Dave, you hear what I'm saying? I lost you, Dave.
Yeah.
There you go. That it's actually the brightest time that we've seen in a long time. Look
Well,
at
for the
what
Jews
they're
it is,
doing for
but
other
for
people.
but for the Goyim, it's like they don't know what the outcome
No,
is.
you know what, Dave? In the whole world, people are reaching out to each other. People are reaching out. People, look, if nothing else, look at all the doctors and the nurses and all of the health professionals. Look at all those people, where they're putting their lives on the line. There is so much incredible stuff that's going on out there in the world. So much, in our own community, there's beautiful stuff going on. But just look around the world. There's beautiful stuff going on. And it's
All right,
it's
that's definitely
light out
true.
there.
That's going on. But I was a thought that was just
Sure, Dave, didn't know 100%. I'm with you. I'm trying to take that thought, that troubling thought, and I'm trying to put some light on it to turn it bright a little bit.
Just increased it. Thank you, Rabbi.
When Ariel left her nursing shift the other day, she stopped at the Bonds near the hospital to get some groceries, and a woman in the checkout line saw her there and asked her if she's a nurse and caring for a COVID patient. She said yes, and she says, "I'm going to buy all your groceries."
Holy cow!
Ariel groceries.
It restores your faith in humanity. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's amazing.
That email helpline from Adat is wonderful. I haven't had to use it, Baruch Hashem, but to have an assist where people aren't going to pick up the phone necessarily, but will email if they need help. I think that's wonderful that our yeshuv is doing that.
Right. It's amazing. And just to know that it's there, I think is a very big comforting thing. Even if, I'll never use it, but I just know that the possibility is there. Yo, I see you, Jamie. Just to know that the possibility is there. So then that's a comforting thing. Whoa, how are you, young one? Look at that. Jeez.
Hi, Rabbi.
Hi, Rabbi Jeff.
Hey, how are you?
I wanted to say hi.
Good to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I assume you're sticking around for a while.
Yeah.
Did you ever meet my cousin?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. He wasn't always there for dinner, but I've met him.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My cousin is the rabbi in Rutgers University. He's the campus rabbi, and Jamie goes to Rutgers University. So just wanted to know if she had met him.
Dave Argo signing out. Chag Sameach, everybody.
Okay,
Take care.
Chag Sameach, everyone. I'm going to sign out.
Thank you, Rabbi. Chag Sameach, everyone.
Chag Sameach. If I don't speak to everybody.
Chag Sameach, Rabbi. Thank you.
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach, Rabbi Shah.
Sameach and
Bye. Good night, everyone.
It's kind of cool.
What is this?
Oh. Do that in the morning in the corner.
Yeah.